TNA Wrestling crossed the line again with another high-octane, action-packed episode of Impact Wrestling, featuring a Champions Challenge match where Matt Hardy, Ryan Nemeth, Eric Young, Joe Hendry, Sami Callihan, Steph DeLander, and Spitfire, Danny Luna and Jody Fred, versus Laredo Kid, the Digital Media Champion, Jordan Grace, the Knockouts Champion, Mustafa Ali, the X Division Champion, Masha Slamovich, and the System, Moose, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Alicia Edwards, the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions, the TNA Tag Team Champions, and the TNA World Heavyweight Champion in a mammoth 16-person main event on the show. Absolutely incredible. But before we get there, we've also got to get Steve Macklin versus Frankie Kazarian, Asprey Elegance versus Zaya Brookside, and Leon Slater goes one-on-one with Alan Angels. Brings me nicely to the opening contest. The match that has been brewing for over a month now. We've had a few matches between the two, Ash by Elegance versus Zaya Brookside. Now, don't forget, this is for the stolen jewelry that Ash said last week that Zaya Brookside had taken, or nicked, as we say over here in the UK. Ash by Elegance getting the victory via a swanton bomb, but after the match, when she was asking her jewelry, she smashed the brass knuckles over Ash by Elegance and threw them over her, much to the chagrin of George the Iceman. You know, Ash has won now, I think, 5-1 in this. Zaya Brookside takes a defeat, but still looks strong. But I think it's time that Ash moves on to perhaps something better, maybe certain Knockouts champion. Maybe in Ash's sights in Jordan Grace, although if I was Ash, I would be very careful to pick those battles very carefully. Certainly wouldn't want to be going on one-on-one with Jordan Grace. Nevertheless, another win for Ash by Elegance this week. Zaya Brookside puts on another good showing, and she's got a great future, certainly in TNA. But again, we're seeing more development, more Ash by Elegance on our screens, and it's showing because the confidence in her is getting more and more better as she believes her own character as well. Obviously, like I said, and we've mentioned this many times on the show, she never really got the opportunity elsewhere to be, prominent on TV and to actually gain that confidence that she's definitely showing on TNA. So you have to give credit to TNA for what they're doing there. And who knows what the future holds for Ash by Elegance. Also, at the same after this, Rosemary took a backstage promo where she said there's time when you need to give up the stuff that makes you human, but only until she loses everything that she's free to do everything. Not quite sure where she's going with this, what she's doing, but we know one thing with Rosemary, it's never normal. I don't know if that's the right word, but it is never normal. There's something normally more to it than that. So Rosemary may be going through a transition, a bit like Jonathan Gresham last week, where we saw him for the first time, or the second time, sorry, since returning with his new demeanor for sure. X Division match. As X Division matches go, Alan Angels and Leon Slater. I don't think I need to say any more than that, and I think you get exactly what I mean. It was an absolutely brilliant match. This was. These two, X Division. If you say the words X Division, Leon Slater, Alan Angels comes to mind. Leon Slater continues week in, week out to impress, to show the world that he is one of the best up-and-coming wrestlers on the planet, not just in the UK, on the planet. And a bold prediction: if Leon Slater is not X Division champion by 2024, then I don't know. I'll eat my hat. I don't even have a hat, so there's no point in saying it. But you get the drift. But also, don't sleep on Alan Angels. He has got all the tools to make a champion. He's proved, again, he hasn't had a lot of matches on TNA recently, but he's certainly, again, someone that's coming into his own again, where he was before in AEW as part of Dark Order. You never really saw enough of him on TV to start not only relating to him, but seeing what he can do. You saw glimpses in AEW of what he can do. I believe now at TNA, if he gets the opportunity and if he gets more TV time, a lot like Ash by Elegance and AJ Francis, two people who weren't getting the TV time elsewhere, and you could never get behind them enough because you never saw them enough. With it now, and a lot with Alan Angels, if they keep on showcasing his talents, let him do what he can do best, it will actually benefit him. Again, the confidence, I'm not saying he's not a confident guy, but the confidence will increase with the more shows, the more matches, the more minutes that he gets, and he can go with the best. And he's another one, like I said, has got all the tools in the trade to become a champion anywhere, but certainly in TNA. Leon Slater wins this high octane match. Swanton 450 bomb. If you haven't seen that before, go check it out. It is an absolute amazing finisher. But that wasn't the end of the action in this. And quite surprising, Con appeared after this match. He hits the Nep snack. The bloody hell. It's Friday. It's got 6 o'clock on a Friday night. The neck snap on Angels. He did try to attack Slater, but Slater managed to get him onto the outside eventually and do that. Con going after these X Division guys, I'm not sure what his motive is. I know the X Division, I don't think there's no limits, right? Is he trying to stake a claim for the X Division? What is Con's motive? What is he trying to do next? I mean, he just had a big brawl with PCO, as we know, on TNA, and it's an interesting one to see where they're positioning Con going forward after his match with, or his war, should we say, with PCO. I'm interested to see that. I thought he may have gone actually for Moose. I know that it'll be a heel program, but I thought Moose may have been a good option for him. But he seems to set his sights on the X Division stars. So we'll see next week if it continues and what Con's motives are. Gabby Laspersa interviewed Jake Something actually on the ramp after this. And he was explaining the origin of Jake Something, but he took offense when someone asked the questions with Cody Deaner, costing him the match last week. And he did say that, or Deaner did come out after this and apologized to Something. He said he'd always be family to him. And with that, Jake Something clubbing Lariat to leave Deaner on the ground. Are we seeing Jake Something now, again, with a demeanor? We keep saying the word demeanor change this week. Last week it was development and, things like this week is demeanor change. With Jake Something's new demeanor, his new attitude, is he headed in a different direction to what we've seen previously with Jake Something? I don't know. We'll find out. He was a nice enough guest when we had him on the show, but maybe a change. Maybe Jake Something thinks a change of attitude is what's needed to get him to that next level. You do remember that he lost 3 X Division championship matches, not in a row, over the course of the years. And we did say on this channel when we talked to him about learning how to get the victory. Maybe he thinks a change of attitude is what's going to get him to that next stage and actually win him a championship in TNA. We'll have to find out for sure. Speedball Mountain were interviewed next backstage, and they've reflected on their recent performances ahead of their number 1 contenders match. So remember, next week on Impact, it's going to be Speedball Mike Bailey against Trent Seven in a match to determine the next X Division contender to Mustafa Ali and the X Division Championship. They did shake hands and done a bow, but the tag team of Speedball Mountain next week goes 1-on-1. Look, the English part of me thinks I want Trent Seven to get the victory next week so that he goes 1-on-1 with Ali. But I think in terms of what I think would make a better match for me, Speedball Mike Bailey against Mustafa Ali has a better ring to it for me in terms of my personal preference of a match rather than Trent Seven. Trent Seven's a white. He's got veteran atmosphere. He can go X Division. You put him on a lucha mask. I've seen it. Seen it with my own eyes. He can do lucha. But I just think in a one-on-one encounter, who would I rather see take on Mustafa Ali? That would be Speedball Mike Bailey. Kazarian was next against Macklin. The Rascals were about in this match. They distracted actually the referee to then Zachary Wentz spray painted Macklin in the face, and with that, the opening come for Kazarian to hit the fade to black on Macklin to get the victory. I would have to say, just going back to the Leon Slater match, apologies, the referee in that match, during that match, coughed up some Black Ink. If you remember, he was the referee for Gresham's last match. So just managed to point out there, just remembering as I'm looking at my notes, I had it on the right hand side of my notes because, yeah, I did forget to mention that. So what's going on with that? And John Gresham, referees are spewing up black ink. Anyway, back to the Kazarian Macklin match. Kazarian picks up the victory because of the Rascals' interference here. You know, Macklin, for me, I love Macklin. I think Macklin is pound for pound one of the best pound for pound wrestlers in on the scene, and I really hope that he can get to that level again where he was previously in TNA, near the top of that mountain. He's got some way to go now. A loss to Kazarian's going to push him down a bit, and Kazarian's still the wily veteran. He saw the opening that the Rascals gave him. He made sure that he took that opening and took the opportunity to beat Macklin this week. Where does Kazarian go from here? Where does Macklin go from here? He's got some rascals to get rid of first, Macklin. I think before he can set his sights any further or on singles gold, I think Macklin will have to go and have a little match with the rascals. But Kazarian, he had the feud of Eric Young. He was, I think, and now he's just beat Macklin. Has he got title aspirations as well? We'll have to wait and see. And I'm really intrigued to see where Macklin is. Probably becoming near the end of the year, actually. I'd like to see where Macklin is on the TNA ladder, so to speak. What TNA do really well is sit down interviews. Now, we saw it with Jonathan Gresham. We even saw it with Jonathan Gresham last year when before he went all, and had this demeanor change and whatever else he was doing. We saw it last year when he just up and walked out of an interview and basically said he was done. And then we saw it over the last few weeks with Gresham when he's had his therapy session, so to speak, before coming back as the Octopus with the new character and that new development. Now, last week we saw it with Mike Santana, and it was a to be continued. He was opening up a bit about his father and stuff like that. And this time he reflected on his life in survival mode to make it through. He said a Christmas letter from his daughter, reading that she wanted daddy to stop, actually rocked him to the core. And if it didn't make him get his shit together, basically, nothing would. And he's talked about the last 5 years of his life, where he reflects on the year being sober, and it motivated him to fight his battles. The hardest one was one of those reasons why he asked for his release from AEW. He said he's now the biggest chip on his shoulder, and he was here to take spots, and he was here to go anywhere, was here to go against anyone. These interviews that TNA do are so great because they open up the character that you want to see. We're sort of saying character development. We're saying that the TV time that Ash and that Switch One and maybe Alan Angels was getting was helping them develop and create this new character. What they're doing here is opening up the past of Mike Santana so you can understand where he's going and what he's trying to do, but giving you the insight into his past. And to have someone like Hanifan there as well, who's such a great, not only play-by-play, but he was from the WWE. He worked with JR. He worked with Michael Cole. He gets the importance of trying to get that character over. And he's done it so well with Jonathan Gresham. He's done it so well here with Mike Santana. And I really am interested. I'm going to be seeing Mike Santana next weekend over here in the UK for Super Strong Soul 16 in Progress Wrestling, a 2-day event. I'm really looking forward to seeing Santana at the show. For me, great talent, a great get for TNA, but such a great way of opening his character up to you so you can understand his motives about what he does. Really great job on there. Speaking of, we mentioned him earlier on, First Class, Rich Swann, AJ Francis, to scout the competition for some championships, and they're watching the main event from the crowd. Now, we mentioned earlier, the main event on TNA was the Champions Challenge match. Here we go again with a load of names. 16-person match. Matt Hardy, Ryan Nemeth, Eric Young, Joe Hendry, Sami Callihan, Steph Galanda, and Spitfire, Jody Fret, Danny Luna, against Laredo Kid, the Digital Media Champion, the Knockouts Champion, Jordan Grace, the X Division Champion, Mustafa Ali, Masha Slamovich, and Alicia Edwards, the Knockout Tag Team Champions, and The System, Moose, the TNA champion, and Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers, the tag team champions, went at it in a crazy, crazy, crazy main event. The interesting part about this is that Mustafa Ali was not getting tagged in, and in the end walked out of that match, which was interesting. He got to the commentary and said he withdrew from the match. He left. So it ended up being a 15-person Champions Challenge match in which the challengers would win. The man of the moment, Joe Hendry, hits the standing ovation for the 1-2-3 to give the challengers the victory. Now, what does that actually mean? Does it mean Joe Hendry gets a shot at a championship? Does it mean the challengers get the opportunity to face the champions? That wasn't explained, but I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with that. Are they TNA going to well, it's not captivate, is not the right word. Are they going to capitalize? That's the word. Well done, Adam. Are they going to capitalize on the Joe Hendry momentum and give him an opportunity to go for the champions? Matt Hardy obviously was going for Moose as well. Ryan Nemeth was trying to get some revenge on the system. See, Sami Callihan was in there as well. What is going to happen now the challengers have defeated the champions? Who knows? But in typical TNA fashion, that wasn't the end of the show. No, sir. At the end, the lights went out, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? PCO comes out with this big black bag as the challengers are celebrating in the ring, and he's trying to find it. Out comes some thumbtacks. Out comes a fucking stapler, I think it was. There's a load of other things in his bag, and then eventually brings out a black rose to present to Steph DeLanda, who he's been courting for some time. If you remember, he teamed with Jordan Grace in a match between for her, against Steph DeLanda and Con, and Steph was trying to be a bit flirtatious with him to get his attention. And he presented her with this black rose. She was wondering whether to take it or not. Eventually, Steph DeLanda takes the black rose, and PCO lets out a big yes, like he's got the job done. Interesting way to end. What happens with the challengers against the champions? We need to find out next week on TNA, but another fantastic episode of TNA Wrestling. Keep it locked on the Hitting the Turnbuckle socials, HTT Buckle, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, and all other social media platforms. We'll be back with some more podcasts coming up this weekend. And we've got some interviews coming up as well with Warhorse this weekend. So keep an eye out on the social media for that. Until then, everybody, have a good weekend. Take care and goodbye.